I think the program is definitely trending up. They brought in the signing class they brought in this year is probably going to go down, I think, as the best one that Stoops will bring in, has brought in his now 5 years. They had the youngest team in the SEC. They only lost 11 seniors, and then they had lost Boone Williams to the NFL draft, and they lost Jeff Badette to a transfer. But, I mean, other than that, they have everybody coming back next year, almost everyone on defense and on offense. So I think they're definitely trending up.
When you look at the SEC, Kevin, overall, what do you see being the difference on the field versus what we saw last year and being so dominant over, when I say last year, several years back, being so dominant in college football as opposed to what we see now, which is still a fight for the best in the nation, but it's not as clear-cut as it once was?
I think there's just so many good athletes. Everybody is picking up, 3 and 4 star guys, and they're able to do great things with them. I think, the talent gap is just getting closer and closer. And I think, even to the guy you had on before, I think the talent gap is just closed between the other conferences in the SEC. I think a lot of it has to do with recruiting. And I also think you were talking about the quarterbacks. One of the things with the SEC, they had like half the league had freshman quarterbacks starting, or in Kentucky's case, Steven Johnson, who came straight out of junior college and never, basically just got thrown in the Florida game, and then he got his bearings under him, and they went 7-3 the rest of the way with him at the quarterback position.
Hey, Kevin, I'm going to throw you every team in the SEC, and if you can just give me a quick trajectory projection. So, for example, Florida, keeping in mind that this team's gone 7-5, 10-4, 9-4 with a couple division championships the last 2 seasons, number 9, 21, 12, and 10 in the recruiting rankings, according to 247 Sports the last 3 years. Your thoughts about Florida? Where are they projecting?
I think they're definitely projected up. I think they'll be the favorite. I think they'll be the favorite in the SEC East this year, and I think they should be.
Kevin, Tennessee needs to pull through. Butch Jones, mediocre in 3 seasons, despite the recruiting classes being what they are. The Vols 12-12 in conference play the last 3 years. Where do you think this program's headed?
I really hate to say trending down, but they lost so many quality players. I mean, they're major players. It would not surprise me to see them be a little bit down from what they were, last year. Maybe even 7-5 this season.
Georgia's kind of a different sort because obviously they've had the coaching change to Kirby Smart and the 3rd-ranked recruiting class, despite kind of a mediocre 8-5 campaign.
I think Georgia. If I was going to do SEC predictions right now, I would pick Georgia 2nd, right behind Florida. I think they're definitely trending up. I think Jacob Eason, and like you said, the signing class that Kirby Smart brought in, I think they're definitely would be trending up. Like I said, right now I would pick them 2nd in the SEC East.
South Carolina fans riding the roller coaster in recent years. Of course, they had 3 consecutive 11-win campaigns, top 5 finishes under Steve Spurrier. He wears down, probably headed toward retirement. Obviously, he knew that, and they kind of coasted in. And then Will Muschamp takes over, and they had that bottom-out season at 3-9. Muschamp comes in, I should say. Then it gets them back to postseason play. They got a new quarterback. He's very talented. They're coming off a season in which they showed us something with a late win against Tennessee.
I think South Carolina definitely would be trending up. I've been very, very impressed with Jake Bentley. Kentucky lucked out this year. I wouldn't say lucked out, but they beat South Carolina 3 years in a row. They have to go down to Columbia this year. I don't know if they'll make it 4, but I would say South Carolina and Kentucky would be there on that 4 or 5 line in the SEC East behind Florida, Georgia, and Tennessee.
Missouri kind of with the same plight as South Carolina in certain ways in terms of jumping into the SEC. I thought that was going to be a disaster. Their first season extremely rough. Then Gary Pinkel's got them in the championship game 2 years in a row. But not with the recruiting base that South Carolina has. And this could be a rough ride for Mizzou.
I think so. I think they're, even if they trend up slightly, they're still probably going to be last in the SEC East. As you said, they just bottomed out last year, and the recruiting has not been what some of the other league, so the other teams in the league have been. I definitely think, if, like I said, I would pick them in the basement, preseason in the SEC.
Vanderbilt, obviously James Franklin doing a heck of a job at Penn State. He did the same things there at Vandy with back-to-back 9-win seasons. Derek Mason finally getting on track last season, getting back to postseason play.
I think I'm going to go out on a limb and say trending down, because they had to rally to make a bowl game last year, and I can't remember their schedule right offhand, but I just don't see them making a bowl game again this year. Now, they probably, they can. If they do, then we can all say I was wrong. But right now, I would have Vanderbilt trending slightly down.